blood vessels, veins and arteries attach. The more pointed or tapered part of the heart, which is inferior, is called the apex. So apex and base. In the lecture, we talked about the pericardium. You should know the layers of pericardium. The superficial layer is the fibrous pericardium. That's the tough outer membrane made of dense or fibrous connective tissue. It anchors the heart to the diaphragm, which lies inferior to it. Also attaches to the major vessels at the base. And it helps to keep the heart from overstretching. So it protects and supports the heart. Just deep to that is this serous membrane, which has two parts. The outer part is the primal layer, primal pericardium, and that adheres to the fibrous pericardium. So it lines the fibrous pericardium. The inner part of that serous membrane is called the visceral pericardium. That covers the surface of the heart. Okay, we're also going to see serous membranes around the lungs, neural membranes. We're going to see in the abdominal pelvic cavity as the peritoneum. Remember, serous membranes, usually double layered, they line body cavities that do not have a natural opening to the outside, unlike mucous membranes, which do. Okay, they line body cavities that do have a natural opening outside, like the GI tract, the respiratory passageways, and so on. Okay. And again, that visceral pericardium is also called the epicardium, which is considered the superficial or outer layer of the heart wall. Again, both the primal pericardium and the visceral pericardium are very thin, simple sphincter subtendon, a little bit of loose connective tissue. Okay, the thickest and middle layer of the heart wall, remember, is the myocardium. That's cardiac muscle. And then running through that, you have these bundles of collagen fibers, which are called the fibrous skeleton of the heart. And they support the heart muscle. Remember, I mentioned in the lecture, you don't have all the connective tissue seeds around heart muscle like you do skeletal muscle. All they have is the endomysium, which is a loose connective tissue sheath around individual fibers or cells. So fibrous skeleton heart runs through the myocardium, bundles of collagen fiber that help to support the heart wall itself. Then the endocardium, that's the line of the heart, lines the chambers, and also covers the valves. And the simple squamous is the loose connective tissue. And it's contiguous with the endothelium, which is the lining of the blood vessels. So endothelium lines the blood vessels, endocardium lines the heart. Heart chambers and covers the valves, the valve flaps. Okay, by now you should know the chambers of the heart. You've got a pair of atria, right and left, and a pair of ventricles, right and left. And remember too that auricles, these are part of the atria, and they're the margins, which are kind of these folded margins here, called the atria. Those are the auricles, also called auricular pendules. We went through that before. Okay. The atria, the lateral margin, the atria, are kind of like little folds on the edge.
Dr. Larson, you only point to that side. Would you ever mark it on the test here?
Well, it's not as obvious there. It's more obvious on the other side.
So it's not the entire side of the flat.
No, it's just the folds.
It's the little folds. The little folds are the articles.
Okay. You have a heart model next to you, and you take it apart. You can see the interior wall of the atrium, and especially here on the right atrium, you can see the muscle is arranged like little grooves between the muscle, sort of like the teeth of a cone. This is called the pectinate muscle. Pectin means cone. Okay, so this is pectinate muscle. And the ridges that you see there in the wall of the atrium, particularly part of the right atrium. It's called pectinate muscle. That's the wall, the interior wall of the atrium. Okay, the right and left ventricles, I think you're familiar with those by now. As we mentioned in lecture, we have a partition of septum between the two atria. That's called an interatrial septum. And actually, feel it better if you can see it. It's this wall that separates separates right from left atrium. Interatrial septum. Again, a septum is just a wall of partition. You've heard of a, called a deviant septum, that's in the nose, or some people have a broken nose, okay, you want to do a fifth with one eye or something. That deviates the septum. It pushes one side. So a septum is a wall or partition. And between the two atria, it's called the interatrial septum. Between the two ventricles, it's much more obvious. That's this muscular partition wall between the right and left ventricle. It's called the interventricular septum. Inter again means between. Okay, these are the walls of partition between the
Ventricle. Atrial.
and the ventricles. Interventricular septum.
Just one inside.
Right here. Also mentioned right here, there's a groove, a shallow groove on the surface of the heart. This is called the sulcus. In the front here, which is more obvious, this is called the anterior interventricular sulcus. And you can see it's kind of a groove between the right and the left ventricle. And you can see the blood vessels running down that shallow groove. You probably heard that term when you were studying the skull, you're talking about the sulcus. And on the brain too, the brain. Pulsi or gyri, okay, gyri are the feet, pulsi are the grooves.
It's yellow, but sort of.
It's not yellow.
No,
Yellow
that is
represents fat, but it's the groove.
It's the green.
Okay.
Yes.
It's less prominent behind, but there's also a posterior interventricular sulcus. So it's just a shallow groove on the surface of the heart. Anterior ventricular sulcus, and behind the posterior ventricular sulcus. Basically running between the two ventricles. There's also a groove between the atria and the ventricles, or around the equator of the heart. That's called the atrioventricular sulcus, or the coronary sulcus, because the coronary sinus, this major vein here, runs right along, especially in the back side of the heart. So this is the atrioventricular sulcus. It's this groove between atria and ventricles. Atrioventricular sulcus, or coronary sulcus. Okay. We talked about the valves. Again, you should be able to recognize the valves. The valves between the atria and the ventricles are atrioventricular valves, but as I said in lecture, I'd like you to know them by their specific name. On the right side, it's called the tricuspid valve. That's between the right atria and the right ventricle. On the left side, it's called the bicuspid valve between the left atria and the left ventricle. The bicuspid is also known as the mitral valve, and that's maybe how you know it, the mitral valve. Okay? Cusp members, the valve flaps. On the right side, there are three of them, so it's the tricuspid valve. On the left side, there are only two of them, so it's the bicuspid valve.
Where is it?
Okay?
Oh.
These, you got to open up the thing and look at it.
This right here?
Those are the valves. Tricuspid valve between the right atria and right ventricle. Bicuspid valve between the left atria and the right ventricle.
Yeah.
What's the purpose
Oh,
of these
those
valves?
are the veins. They're flaps.
Keep the blood from flowing back into the atria once those ventricles contract. Those valves close before the ventricles contract.
Can you point to those flaps?
Right here.
Oh, to those.
They're not, they don't have the colors.
Okay, the flaps are this part right here. Cusp of the flaps. And notice attached to the cusp of the bicuspid and tricuspid valve are these cords, bundles of collagen fibers. Those are the chordae tendineae. Chordae tendineae. So-called heart
The heart
strings. So I want you to know
strings.
by your technical name,
But I don't see,
chordae tendineae.
I guess it don't have
Okay?
it.
And notice the chordae tendineae, at one end they attach the valve cusps or flaps, at the other end they attach from muscle projecting to the interior of the ventricular wall, which are called the papillary muscles.
Oh, so that's the
The
papillary
chordae tendineae,
muscles.
bundles of collagen fibers running between papillary muscles
Papillary
and
muscles.
the tricuspid and bicuspid valve flaps. Okay? And again, what they do is they hold the cusp of the tricuspid and bicuspid valve together. They don't just simply blow back when that ventricle contracts and slams blood up against it. As I mentioned, the valves will close before the ventricle contracts. Keep the blood from flowing back into the atrium when that ventricle contracts. Okay? All right, if you look at the interior of the ventricle wall, you see it's like little folds or ridges in here. This is called the trabeculae carni. Okay, trabeculae carni. These grooves or folds that you see in the wall, the interior walls of the ventricle. Trabeculae carni. The grooves got a very irregular interior. That's trabeculae carni. So in the ventricle walls. Okay. Remember when you're studying bone, you had compact bone, which has the circles basically a matrix, bone matrix, and you had some canal, a reversion canal, very dense bone. Then you had your trabecular bone, or spongy bone. What was that? Arms of bone, trabeculae, surrounding these little cavities. Usually fill that bone up. So these are trabeculae carni. Carni, of course, comes from Spanish word for meat. Okay, carni. Chelica carni. Again, this is the wall of the ventricle. Ventricles. Okay. As I mentioned also in lecture today, there are valves in the arteries that drain the ventricles. And these are called semilunar valves. And since the valves are kind of like a partial moon, they're called semilunar valves. And despite what your textbook says, I want you to call them on the right side pulmonary semilunar. I was going to say pulmonary valve. It's pulmonary semilunar valve. And that's in the pulmonary trunk, which is the artery that drains the right ventricle. So here.
Okay.
Okay? The little white things that you see there. Pulmonary semilunar valves. Notice there's also a semilunar valve in the aorta, which is the artery that drains the left ventricle, and this is called the aortic semilunar valve. So pulmonary semilunar valve, the pulmonary trunk, and aortic semilunar valve in the aorta. Remember, these valves are passive valves. They simply part that ventricle contracts and shoots blood out between the cusps, and because they're cup-shaped, they are pocket-like, that blood comes back with a relaxation of the ventricle, it catches those cups and pulls them together and closes the valve. There's a nice diagram in the book that shows that. Both the tricuspid and bicuspid and also the semilunar valves. Pulmonary semilunar and aortic semilunar valves. Okay?
That's why I got confused about things.
Okay, we've already been through major blood vessels here, including cava, okay, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries, pulmonary veins. Okay, all these major blood vessels you should know by now. You had a chance to look at them and study them in models. I'm going to take you to pulmonary models. Now turn to the next page, page 4, top of the page. By the way, on the aortic arch, in humans, remember 3 vessels. You should know what they are. What's the first one on the right? Brachiocephalic artery, and that divides into what? What arteries? Right subclavius on the right arm.
And right common carotid.
Make sure you say common carotid. You also got internal and external, which is in its home model. Middle branch, okay.
Left common carotid.
Common carotid, and then the third branch?
Left subclavian artery.
Okay, supplies the left one. In pigs, we've got only 2 branches. What's the first one?
Brachio.
Brachiocephalic artery again. And the last one?
Subclavian, right
Left
subclavian.
subclavian artery. And that's because in the pig, the left common carotid artery branches not off the aortic arch, but off the brachiocephalic artery. The pigs, 3 vessels come off the brachiocephalic. The humans, only 2. Make sure you know that. Otherwise, we would call it subclavian, not common carotid. Where does subclavian go? Over there. Okay. In the fetus, as you know, the mother is supplying the oxygen and nutrients to the fetus. For that reason, since she's supplying oxygen, the lungs, fetal lungs are collapsed. So we have very little blood actually going out to lungs, just enough to maintain the tissues. But you're not urinating the blood. Okay, that's done by the mother via the placenta. For that reason, there's no point in sending a lot of blood into the lungs. So you're going to directly actually send most of the blood directly from the right side of the heart to the left side. So there's actually a hole in the fetal heart that allows blood to go right from the right atrium into the left atrium. You can see the remnant of it right here in these bottles. That's called the foraminal valley. Remember a foramen in the skull? There was an opening through which blood vessels or nerves pass. It's this hole right here. Actually, this will go apart, this actually close, and then close it becomes known as the fossa ovalis, which are your vein arteries. Okay?
Yeah, this one.
So it appears to be a hole here, okay? It's using the feet apart, it closes at birth, and becomes the fossa ovalis. Once the baby is born, of course, you want to start breathing, the lungs are inflated then, and now you're channeling more blood to the lungs.
Is the white one open hole?
Yes.
That's
The white hole is the
The
foramen.
fossa ovalis.
That's
Okay,
right.
not the foraminal valley. That's the remnant
This
of
one
the
here.
foraminal valley, which we would see in the fetal
Oh,
heart.
okay.
Passing by directly from
You
the
showed
right
it?
atrium
Is it in the book?
into the left atrium.
So the foraminal valley would be in the white one?
Fetus,
I think
fetus.
that's what he said. I'm not sure.
Fossa ovalis is what you see. So I put a pointer on that, don't say foraminal valley.
Here it is.
It's fossa ovalis.
Is it this one right here?
The hole in the valley and the.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the top.
Okay, there's also another passage from right to left side, and that's actually a little vessel that runs between the pulmonary trunk, which covers the artery draining the right ventricle, and the aorta, which is the artery draining the left ventricle. This little white thing that you see here. Okay? In the fetus, that's a blood vessel. You can see at the top of the page here, it's called the ductus arteriosus. And it channels blood from pulmonary trunk into the aorta. The ductus arteriosus. At birth, that vessel collapses and becomes known as the ligamentum arteriosus. That's what you see. It's just like a little link runs between the pulmonary trunk and the aorta.
Right here?
Okay?
Oh, it's that
The
little.
white thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
That's the ductus arteriosus.
Okay, so it's the ductus arteriosus in the fetus. It's actually a blood vessel. There's blood between the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. It collapses or closes, and at birth, this becomes a ligamentum arteriosus. It's no longer carrying blood. At this point, now you're going to be showing blood from the right side heart and the left and back to the left. Okay, the moderator band, you're not going to see this on this heart, but you should be able to see it on the sheath hearts, which will be dissected today. And that's a band of muscle that runs between the interventricular septum and the lateral wall of the right ventricle. So you'll see in the ventricle, the right ventricle, this looks like a little worm running between the interventricular septum and the lateral wall of the right ventricle, moderator band. You might think it's there for support, it's not. It basically carries impulses, it helps to coordinate contractile activity. You don't see it here in the moment. Moderator band is what it's called. Look for it in the right ventricle of the sheath heart. It's like a little worm running from the interventricular septum out to the lateral wall of the right ventricle.
Does it keep the heart from over-contracting?
No, it basically carries like waves that helps coordination and contractile support. All right, the coronary arteries and cardiac veins. As I said, you should be familiar with these. You can see them normally on the models. In fact, the very first vessels that branch off the aorta, they come off the ascending order, are these vessels right here. These are coronary arteries. One on the right, it's the right coronary artery. The one on the left looks like it's coming out of the pulmonary trunk, it's only running behind it. That's the left coronary artery. So right coronary artery and left coronary artery are the first vessels that branch off the aorta. They're actually coming off the ascending order, just superior to the heart valve. Or the aortic septal valve. A little red ones here. Here and here. Okay? So the one on the left is not coming out of the pulmonary trunk, it's just running behind it. So, yeah, it's going to be right
one's
and
right
left
there.
coronary arteries. So those are actually the first arteries that branch off the aorta. Of course, that's one
What's
that's
one on the
really
other
rich in
side?
oxygen.
Oh, there it is.
So next lecture day, heart requires a good oxygen.
Question asked.
Okay, put the face back on here again. Now, I'd like you to know the two major branches of each of those arteries. On the left side, left coronary artery, the first branch is this one, the red one that runs down the anterior interventricular sulcus. That's called the anterior interventricular artery. The anterior interventricular artery. It's the red one that runs right down that anterior interventricular sulcus. And there's a groove between the ventricles. So that's one of the major branches off the left coronary artery. The other one comes off on the lateral margin, on the lateral wall of the left ventricle. That's called the circumflex artery. The circumflex artery. Okay? This one over here.
Over here?
So the two major branches off the left coronary arteries, the anterior and ventricular artery, and then the circumflex artery. Okay, there are two major branches I'd like you to know coming off the right coronary artery. The first one, this is right coronary artery here, it's running along the interventricular sulcus. It's not the first branch, but the second branch. That's called the marginal artery. That runs along the lateral wall of the right ventricle, the marginal artery. It comes off the right coronary artery, running along that interventricular sulcus, the blue between the atrium and ventricles. Okay? So the second branch off, marginal artery. Okay? Then the right coronary artery continues around behind, and then it gives off this one, which is the posterior interventricular artery. And it runs along the posterior interventricular sulcus, the red vessel. That's the posterior interventricular artery. So the two branches off the right coronary artery, the first one would be the marginal artery. That's the first of the second major vessel here. And then behind this one, posterior interventricular sulcus, the posterior interventricular artery. And of course, these branches are small. Those are what I like to know. Two off the left coronary artery and two off the right coronary artery. All right, then the blood is returned to the heart chamber by means of cardiac veins. And there are two of those I'd like you to know, as I mentioned in the lecture. The one in front here, big blue vessel here, which roughly parallels the anterior ventricular artery, called the great cardiac vein. The great cardiac vein. Behind, the one that parallels the posterior ventricular artery, the blue vessel here, is the middle cardiac vein. And again, it runs along that anterior and the posterior ventricular sulcus. Okay? They both drain into this major vessel, which is the coronary sinus that we mentioned before. Okay, just the coronary sinus. Where does it empty? Into the right.
That's the coronary sinus, so what's that other one
Open
over
the bottom
here?
here,
Over
that
there.
atrial septum. You can see there's a blue spot.
What was that
That
last one?
represents the opening of the coronary sinus. It's drained blood returning to the heart wall itself. Through the cardiac vein.
Those two.
The great cardiac vein in the front. The little cardiac vein behind. And the other cardiac veins that goes on each other.
Which one's the middle cardiac vein?
Say again?
Which one was the middle cardiac?
The cardiac is the one that runs right along there.
Okay, I got that confused with the sinus.
Okay,
That's the
and in
middle.
front, great cardiac vein
Yeah.
is this big blue one right here. Okay.
Middle is the one that goes, yeah, goes down, and then that big one that goes across. That's what I thought it was. That's the sinus, the coronary sinus. The big blue one?
Okay, any other questions?
That was one of the first ones.
Okay, that's what I'm going to share about the heart. And most of the questions will be on the heart model, but
Right. You have a question?
you'll see several other coupons. Yes?
What is this one, the blue, the vein?
That one is outside.
Okay, we just want to make sure, we're not.
On the back, probably the posterior.